What's a hero without a villain? Batman had the Joker, Superman, Lex Luthor, and K.I.T.T had K.A.R.R. The Knight automated roving robot, Wilton Knight's first failed attempt to build a sentient supercar. While K.I.T.T gets most of the love from the Knight Rider fans, we can't forget about K.A.R.R, the evil Trans Am twin who appeared in 2 of Knight Rider's most popular episodes. 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of his second appearance, the popular 3rd season episode, K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R. So popular, in fact, that this year's Southern Nights Atlanta Knight Rider show, taking place July 19th through the 20th, is reuniting the 3 guest stars from that episode for the first time since 1984. What other fandom seeks out and reunites specific episode guest stars? We're talking Eddie and Mandy and John, the 3 main stars from K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R. Who does that? Knight Rider fans do. In honor of K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R.'s 40th anniversary, let's reveal the top 10 wild facts about K.A.R.R. Let us know in the comments how many of these you didn't know, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Here we go.
Well, well, well.
A sudden death showdown with K.I.T.'s evil twin.
Goodbye, Michael Knight.
Is this the end for Michael and K.I.T.T? Knight Rider, tonight.
Number 1. Car cars. The most popular questions we receive here at the Knight Rider Historians regarding K.A.R.R. are how many different Trans Ams were used for K.A.R.R? Do any still exist? And did the studio buy Trans Ams specifically to convert into K.A.R.R? When preparing to film Trust Doesn't Rust in 1982, the studio simply repurposed the Trans Ams they already had in their fleet to use as K.A.R.R. At this early point in the series, the show only had 4 Trans Ams and the Flivver car. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Flivver car was a dune buggy chassis with a rubber or fiberglass Trans Am shell on top. We actually did a complete video on the Flivver car, link in the corner of the video right now if you're curious. So, all 5 of these vehicles were seen as K.A.R.R. at some point in the episode. 2 years later, in 1984's K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R., the show had already accumulated a significantly higher amount of Trans Ams, and 8 vehicles were used as K.A.R.R. throughout that episode, 2 of which were previously seen as K.A.R.R. in Trust Doesn't Rust. All in all, 11 unique cars were used to depict K.A.R.R. Now, if you want to learn the details of those cars, including how many were painted the two-tone black and silver, check out our dedicated video we did on this specific topic by clicking the link in the corner of this video right now. But if you do, don't forget to come back here, because we still have 9 more facts to reveal. Out of those 11 cars used as K.A.R.R., 2 still exist today. This particular car is owned by us and is currently in the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, California. And this car currently is on display at the Marconi Museum in Tustin, California. Number 2. Washed Away. At the end of Trust Doesn't Rust, K.I.T.T and K.A.R.R. play a game of chicken on the California highway, with K.A.R.R. ducking out of the head-to-head confrontation and plummeting to the ocean below. That showdown was filmed on West Paseo del Mar, near White Point Beach in San Pedro, California, pretty much where the rest of the episode was filmed, San Pedro. 2 years later, John Stanton and Mandy Moran find K.A.R.R. seemingly undisturbed, buried in the sand at Paradise Cove Beach in Malibu, 36 miles northwest of where he initially landed. Did K.A.R.R. spend 2 years floating through the ocean before becoming lodged in the beach in Malibu? Did some nefarious criminal such as Garth Knight or Alvin B. Kincaid secretly transport K.A.R.R to Malibu to be found by John as part of some master plan? Did the producers of the show not think that anyone would dive this deep into the details that they didn't care about what beach K.A.R.R was found in? We may never know. Number 3. I get by with a little help from my plywood. While we're on the topic of K.A.R.R being rediscovered on the beaches of Malibu by John and Mandy, let's talk about exactly how they pulled off having K.A.R.R escape from his sandy grave. For the site, which was filmed in Malibu in Paradise Cove, mere steps from the Three Shells restaurant in Season 2's Return to Cadiz, workers prepped the area by digging a large hole in the sand. In fact, the production call sheets for that day request that the special effects and transportation departments have the hole dug and the Trans Am buried by 7 a.m. on Monday, June 4th, 1984, in preparation for that day's shoot. As you can imagine, one of the big issues they were going to have was getting enough traction on the sand to actually drive the car out. This was solved in 2 ways. The first, and probably the one that was the most effective, the special effects crew lined the sand pit with sheets of plywood so the Trans Am's tires would have something to dig into. In fact, during the extraction, you can even spot the plywood lining the back wall of the pit. The second was in the specific Trans Am they chose to use for this scene. This particular car was one of 2 cars that the studio had that was outfitted with the high traction drop downs, first installed for the Season 2 episode Speed Demons. This allowed the car to sit higher to give it more clearance for getting out of the pit. Number 4. All things being equalizer. When we first see K.A.R.R speak after he is freed from the Knight Museum of Technology's warehouse, there's an immediate difference noticed between him and K.I.T.T. Instead of a solid blinky light to represent the voice, K.A.R.R instead had a futuristic-looking 3-bar equalizer. In order to avoid the expensive cost of upgrading the dashboard with this new voice box, the special effects crew instead built this voice box and mounted it on a wooden board. When shown close up, most wouldn't realize that it was actually not in a car, or even mounted to a dashboard. This new style of voice box was a stark contrast to the rather dull-looking red blinking lights seen in K.I.T.T. Producers liked K.A.R.R''s voice box so much that only a few episodes later, in Season 1's Hearts of Stone, K.I.T.T receives an upgraded voice box as well, with red instead of green LEDs and an inverted pattern than the one seen in K.A.R.R. Number 5. K.A.R.R.vette. After K.A.R.R escapes his sandy grave at the start of K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R, he eludes Michael and K.I.T.T and hides out in a paint booth at Mr. D's Marine around back. It is here that he suggests having his appearance altered, no doubt to distinguish himself from the inferior production line copy, aka K.I.T.T. This change is achieved through a slick 2-tone black and silver paint job. The notes in the script even comment that K.A.R.R looks sharp after this change. As the story goes, the 2-tone paint job was the brainchild of Knight Rider's unit production manager, Ron Martinez, a self-proclaimed car guy in his own right. Ron liked the look of the then 6-year-old 1978 Corvette Anniversary Edition, and modeled K.A.R.R''s paint job off of this GM sports car, using the same GM silver paint code and mimicking the design, such as the strip of silver over the wheel wells. To differentiate K.A.R.R''s 2 looks, meaning the pre- and post-paint jobs that we see in the episode, the script calls him K.A.R.R 2 for the scenes in which he is 2-toned. Number 6. A Car of 2 Voices. In Season 1's Trust Doesn't Rust, K.A.R.R''s voice was provided by prolific voice actor Peter Cullen. Cullen has voiced thousands of characters in his career, but he is most well known as the voice of Optimus Prime in the Transformers franchise. I think he was also the voice of Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh as well. Remember though, he voiced K.A.R.R 2 years before Optimus Prime was created. so original airing viewers of this episode wouldn't have noticed that connection. When K.A.R.R. returned 2 years later in K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R., the writer of that episode, Richard Oakey, and the producers wanted a more sinister voice. Oakey recalls, "Since William Daniels' voice was very proper, we had to go with a very gutsy voice for the other K.A.R.R. They chose Paul Frees, another voice actor with so many credits to his name, he was known as the Man of 1,000 Voices. Frees was the voice of Boris Badenov in the Rocky and Bullwinkle series, and the voice of the Haunted Mansion at Disney.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion.
When Knight Rider was rebooted in 2008 and the producers of that show decided to bring K.A.R.R. back, they also brought back original K.A.R.R. voice actor Peter Cullen, as Paul Frees had passed away in 1986. In fact, K.A.R.R.'s voice was one of Frees' last credited works. Number 7. A Deadly Mystery. Except for commercials that promoted Knight Rider in the week prior to the airing, the viewing public had no idea what to expect out of the next new episode of the show. Well, unless you were one of the millions of customers who was a TV Guide subscriber. Then you saw this beautiful ad. But anyways, Knight Rider didn't tease the next episode at the end of the prior one. For K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R., the commercials that aired to promote the episode in the week prior had an air of mystery about them, with them not revealing K.A.R.R.'s return. Take a look.
Sunday on Knight Rider, Kit and Michael try to save a young couple and come face to face with an evil force.
Who or what is that?
It's a deadly mystery. Sunday.
Number 8. Getting the Gang Back Together. Despite airing in November, K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R. was the first episode of Season 3 to be filmed. It was held back for Sweeps Week and to coordinate the location shoots of the San Francisco-centric season premiere, Night of the Drones. Because it was the first episode filmed, technically, K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R. marks Patricia McPherson's return as Bonnie Barstow. The show also featured and debuted a brand new hero car for Season 3, but it wasn't 100% complete by the time they filmed this episode. In fact, it only makes it into one scene, and you can see the dash isn't even finished. There's no labels on any of the LEDs. The show was also going to debut a new stunt car driven from the right-hand side, built from the old Seasons 1 and 2 hero car, but that hasn't happened yet as of the filming of this episode. In fact, you can see they are still using the old hero car as K.A.R.R. in some scenes and K.I.T.T in others. This right-hand blind drive car build was delayed partly so they could still use this for K.A.R.R. since he had the earlier dashboard. Number 9. Pieces of You, Pieces of Me. K.I.T.T and K.A.R.R. have an epic showdown which leaves K.A.R.R. in a million pieces on the Dry Creek bed. For this scene, the set decorators clearly raided their stash of Trans Am spare parts because we see a plethora of parts from these cars. The exhaust Y pipe for a 305 LG4 motor, a front control arm, a 4-barrel carb base plate, and the engine fan hub can be seen here, along with a manual transmission shifter plate. The next scene shows a passenger side door, a factory dash pad, brake rotors, wheel well skirts, air cleaner tubes, a quadrajet carb, driver's kick panel, a wheel, front strut and a strut mount, ground effects, springs, a center console, even a passenger side fender. We do see K.A.R.R.'s bumper, although in a set decorating mistake, it is not painted the two-tone black and silver. Whoops. And we notice his CPU is noticeably absent. Speaking of K.A.R.R.'s CPU. Number 10. A Missed Opportunity. During the final seconds of K.I.T.T vs. K.A.R.R., the camera pans over the wreckage from K.I.T.T and K.A.R.R.'s confrontation, stopping at K.A.R.R.'s blinking CPU, indicating he is still alive even though his body is destroyed. This final scene was executive producer Robert Foster's idea. Despite this setup, we do not see K.A.R.R. again in the original series. Here's what the script says about those final seconds. Residue of the confrontation, quiet and peaceful now, just the whistle of the wind. Then a faint noise, a weak electronic pulse, and the camera finds a twisted black box about the size of a pack of cigarettes laying in the rocks, wires sheared off and tangled. It can't still be functioning, but it continues to emit a pulse and a faint red light. It is K.A.R.R.'s CPU, his central processing unit, and incredibly, it's still alive. An alternate reality version of K.A.R.R. returns in the 2008 Knight Rider reboot series, voiced by Peter Cullen as previously mentioned, but little else in common with the original K.A.R.R. I suppose the closest we get to K.A.R.R. returning for a third time in the original series will be Season 4's Killer Kit. In fact, with a few minor story tweaks, they could have had Marco Berio transplant K.A.R.R.'s CPU into K.I.T.T to turn him evil. That actually would have been pretty incredible. Somebody out there write some fan fiction on that, will you? And those are the top 10 wild facts about K.A.R.R. So tell us, did we miss any that you think should have been on this list? Why don't you put it down in the comments section, right below this video, and let us know. Also, let us know, were there any of these you didn't know? We love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch not only this video, but all the videos we've got here on the Knight Rider Historians channel. There are hundreds of them at this point. We really appreciate it. We'll be back again real soon with some more great Knight Rider content. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time.
Hello friends, it's me, K.I.T.T. When I'm not out fighting crime, I like to follow my friends at knightriderhistorians.com. Check it out.